At first, everything seemed great. And, they would always, that was one of the ways that they would suck you in, is that they would uplift you.
Right. So tell me your name. I guess I didn't get that from Sierrah, but that's okay. I'll introduce her.
I'm Shaina.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Shaina. So I know that we were in a dulam together.
Yeah.
And you're also Sierrah's older sister.
Mm-hmm.
And you were in a dulam for a long time.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you met Mark and Leslie and got involved in a dulam.
So I was about 13 when I met them for the first time. I had just moved to Dover in the 8th grade.
So you met them really early on whenever they first kind of took over that church.
Yeah, House of Praise.
Yeah, well, the youth leaders, I guess.
Yeah.
The House of Praise.
Mm-hmm. So, I switched schools and I'm meeting all these new friends and they keep telling me, oh, you need to go to this church on Wednesday nights.
It was hopping.
It was.
That's how I learned about it.
It was, yeah.
But I was dating a guy from Dover, too. Kevin.
I forgot about that.
Kevin, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it was literally we had nothing to do. I'm telling you, yes. This area.
It's so poor.
Go to the movies.
Yeah, bowling.
Play pool.
Walk around.
You couldn't even
drive around.
Yeah.
The strip.
We literally just walked to Walmart one day because we had nothing there.
Walmart is such a thing. We're never gonna get through this. Okay. Yeah, we did stupid shit. We did such stupid shit. Walmart was such a poppin' place for Russellville.
When it
opened, and also for a dulam, since we went there and asked for donations.
Oh my god, peasants,
yes.
Fucking peasants out there begging, please, give me more money.
So yeah, you were with them at the very beginning. So that's probably 2005.
So I graduated in 2009. I was 18, so I was 13 when I met them. So,
golly,
5 years before that. So
that's
2004.
Wow. So you knew them before I did, because I came in after you guys were already on the ministry team, I think, or at least getting really close to them.
Mm.
But anyway, continue.
Was there already a dance team when you?
Yes.
Okay.
It was just kind of starting.
So when I said, I switched it over. All my friends were like, you got to come to this church, and I was like, why would I want to go to church on Wednesday nights? Yeah. I already have to go to churches on Sundays, and I hate that. And they were like, no, you have to come. It's so cool. They have video games. They have pool. They have free snacks. And I was still like, nah. And they were like, they have basketball cages. And I was like, damn. Okay.
Yeah, you did always love doing the cool stuff.
Yes. I was always, I'm a tomboy. I've always been a tomboy. A chance to play basketball with boys, I was down.
So you're always playing with the boys?
Yeah. And, I was just a tomboy. And
to be fair, that could be a really good thing for kids in poverty. But obviously, Mark and Leslie, everybody knew Leslie was the bitch at that time. You remember that?
Yeah.
You remember that, right? Everybody was like, oh, Mark's really cool, but Leslie's a huge bitch.
Yes. And I hated her the whole time.
Really?
I always hated her. I only liked Mark. But
God.
Yeah, I said it. But anyways,
I mean, obviously we don't like Mark now.
No, obviously not.
But at this time you started going.
Yes. Oh my god, I'm playing with this in my microphone. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hopefully it's not like ASMR with cult studies.
Okay, I'll stop that. Okay. But yeah, so and at first it was just I was just having fun, youth group, playing basketball. I really didn't care about the church part. I just wanted to play basketball and get free snacks.
Yeah.
And for some reason they picked me out. I think part of it was, there was already 2 people that I was already friends with who they kind of picked our group, I guess you could say. Targeted us very early on. Yeah. And Leslie was like, oh, how about on Wednesday nights you guys be a part of this special team? You get to be leaders, and all you have to do is Mark will come to the school and pick you up in the church van after school, and then you come and then clean the church.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that you guys cleaned.
Oh yeah,
actually I remember sweeping.
Yes,
I do.
We didn't do shit. We never just got shit for free.
But if we weren't cleaning, we were either having a Bible study or screaming and worshiping. Right? Like for hours they would have us go and do that.
They would just turn off the lights. We would just dance. Like...
But then Leslie would get mad if we were like trying to pray and stuff, you know.
So such a hypocrite.
So they asked you to start coming to be a part of this minister team. So I know they found out about the ramp at that time.
I think so. Yes, definitely. They were already obsessed with them then because like they already had this little dance team, but it was like even people that were there before us main three, you know, these people never ended up moving in with them. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember like people that were not originally like
I don't remember a lot. No, I remember mostly the ones of us who ended up kind of continuing. There were a few I remember.
But it was like maybe like 5 people on the team.
Small.
And yeah, it was a small dance team. And like, well, they were like, oh, come do Bible studies with us. And I was like, okay, you know, and it was called Pit Crew.
Oh.
It was called the Pit Crew.
Okay. Oh yeah, because they had U-turn. Holy shit, that's like deep in my memory.
With the car?
Where U-turn.
Oh my god! Oh, brain blast.
I feel the same way right now.
Oh my god, bro. Okay.
Oh god, we're too much together, Shaina.
I was thinking, I was like, I forgot what a great team we make.
Are we? We're just laughing at ourselves.
Because we're hilarious. But anyways, I digress.
So anyway, yeah, you were on the Pit Crew.
Yeah. You turned. They turned me.
They turned us, that's for sure. And on that podcast that we listened to of them, where she was like, "Oh, people are never the same after they see Mark and Leslie Dollar."
Oh my god!
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. Oh my god! Okay. Little nightmares for years.
Yeah.
But so then they're like begging me to join this dance team, and I was like, no. I was like, I only get to see my dad every other weekend because my parents were divorced, you know, and I really wanted to see my dad. And they were like, you know, you could still, because they did it every weekend, the practices. Yeah. And I was like, they were like, at first, mm-hmm. They were like, it's okay, you can just come to every other practice and go see your dad the weekends that you're able to. And then obviously that didn't last because I wasn't allowed, you know, they forced me to start doing it every week. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, how did they kind of lure you into that? Was it, because for me it was a lot of guilt.
It was a lot of, it was so many things. A lot of it was peer pressure because, like I said, these 2 friends that I had that I was already like best friends with were already completely under their thumb. You know? Yeah. And so they were like,
getting sucked in.
They were like, join us, you know? Oh, and like they had already been to, and then after this is when they started inviting us over to their house. Okay. And like those 2 friends had already been to their house before without me. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, come on. They're like, they got 4-wheelers. They have a basketball.
Now, what year is this now at this point?
If I had to guess, when did I say it started?
Because whenever I joined up was around 2007.
Yes, it was before that. Okay. I was probably around 14 at that time. Yeah. Probably around 14.
So if they left that church in 2007 and you graduated in 2009... So what, 2000? I'm trying to do the math. I
think probably like 2006 maybe.
Okay. So like a year before.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Because I think they were escalating up to being like so extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, definitely. So, were they baptized into those deep freezes? Do you remember that? At the U-turn, he put fucking a deep freeze.
Yes.
And I got baptized multiple times.
You gotta cleanse those spirits.
They always had us convinced that we were so evil and that oh my god, you woke up oh my god, you woke up today, you should go to hell for that.
I know, right? So they invite you over and obviously they have all this cool stuff in a nice house.
A nice house. They cooked us like real food.
Seriously, we had TV dinners, you know?
I had a hamburger helper all the time growing up.
Yeah.
And you know, I still make the meatloaf that they taught us because
that wasn't their meatloaf necessarily. Or another girl made that meatloaf.
Oh yeah, I mean there's still recipes I make because the food.
She still has that recipe. Yeah.
You know, we did eat some, especially like you know, like you were talking about with my sister Sierrah, how it's a poor area. Yes. You know, like a 4-wheeler, that's a good time.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, oh, we'll cook for you too.
Yeah.
And then they were basically like, okay, well, how would you feel about staying the night with us sometimes? like all of you, because it was all of us together.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that,
how did you feel about that, being asked to stay the night? I mean, obviously at the time it wasn't as suspicious as it is now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the time, I was, like I said, I was like 14 years old. Like, at that time, you always want to go spend the night at your friend's house. And I was getting to stay with my friends, like all together. And it was cool because, one of the friends was a boy. So, like, I wouldn't just get to, really spend the night with him at my house.
Yeah, you could just stay up late being stupid or whatever. Yeah. Or supposedly, for now.
Yeah, it was, so at first, everything seemed great. And, they would always, that was one of the ways that they would suck you in, is that they would uplift you. Yeah. They would get you in front of a group of people, because they always had a group of people. They always had a group of kids,
That's true.
And so whoever the group was at the time, they would say, Shaina, you're so beautiful. Your soul is so beautiful. I see this in you. You have, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Really?
Yes, it is. But then, after a while, when they realize they've got you on their hook, then all of a sudden it is humiliating you in front
Public
of everyone on like a daily basis almost.
Yes.
Like if it wasn't you specifically, like if it wasn't you specifically, they at least got us all in a group.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But
it was almost worse to see other people even.
It was.
Because like if it was me, I could just freeze up and kind of dissociate. But if it was somebody else, I don't know, it just almost seemed like not only is it happening, but I'm watching it happen.
That's like, I think I might have told you before, that day when they were laying sod.
Yeah, whenever I was contemplating hurting myself, and then I decided to.
Yeah, I was out there right beside Leslie laying sod, and I knew that you had told, which doesn't even fucking matter, by the way, but I knew that you had told them the day before that you were, and reminded them that you were going to your dad's house. I remember it.
Yeah.
And Leslie was bitching at you, and I was just like crying so hard on the inside, because I knew it was so wrong. And like I wish I could go, there's so many things I wish I could go back and change and stand up for, y'all and myself.
Yeah, but we were so
children.
Young. Yeah, because I felt the same way about other people getting scolded, and the way they treated the one person who me and you both know, and that was like favored, and also the way that like they treated the person who they had the mirror incident with, where they had her hold the mirror up to herself. Like, I mean, it's just degrading, and that it's wrong, because I think at some point we started to feel that.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what to do. And if you ever tried, that you would just get knocked down.
It's, something I've been learning about recently is like hypnotism and trance states and things like that. And, the subconscious mind, and like y'all were talking about earlier, the little sayings, all the terminology, the repetition,
so
because
powerful.
It is, it literally is, when you repeat these words to a child over and over and over and over again, it literally becomes a part of them. It becomes a part of their subconscious brain.
It's our identity almost. Yeah.
And so
like rebellious was one of them. Like all kinds of different spirits. I mean, gluttony was a huge one that she focused on for a lot of us, even though I know you were like force fasted, and there were times where they were having us fast and there was nothing to eat, and the cafeteria, so we just ate like raisins.
Yes.
Also just the way that they degraded us and made us feel guilty all the time. Like they almost told us you can be sinless, and then you were never sinless.
Yeah.
Even no matter how hard you tried.
It was always, I wonder how much they studied how to do this to children, because like,
well, he did always say he was looking for the right cookie cutter thing. You've been learning about trans states and things, and how maybe some of these things affect people long term.
Yeah. Because it's not in your conscious mind, it's in your subconscious. That's where your house of beliefs are. And, you have to, first of all, you have to mature enough to recognize those things are not correct, and that they're even there, that you even have those beliefs, because it's just become a part of you. So you even realize,
yes,
yes.
I mean, in counseling, even people have to be ready. It's almost like you have to come to the point where you realize, okay, something that I want and something that I'm feeling inside are not matching up.
Yeah.
And where is that brokenness at? Like, how can I grow? That's one thing that these two people do not have.
No.
The ability to grow.
No. You know, the most hypocritical people I've ever met in my whole life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was how I got in it.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit more about what it was like once you were there and living there more often.
Well, let me describe like kind of a normal schedule for me when I was in high school, because despite actually being in the best shape of my entire life,
well, yeah, we couldn't eat what we wanted.
Yeah, and we exercised every day for multiple
exhausted.
hours. So and they bullied me into also joining a gym and going at 4 a.m. so that I could get an hour in at the gym before I came back for 6 o'clock a.m. Bible study, before I went to school at 8 a.m. And then afterwards get done. Maybe we're mowing lawns, maybe we're doing this, but we're definitely doing some type of work for them.
Yeah.
And multiple hour dance practices.
Yep.
And then
ministering at the Main Street Mission.
Mm-hmm. And every weekend doing performances.
Yep, traveling.
Yeah, and all of the, all of these performances, their pockets are getting fucking stuffed.
Yeah, because this was before they were a 501c3.
Oh, yeah. And cash donations, baby.
A lot.
So much.
And a lot of our families were giving a little money, too.
Mm-hmm. And, they definitely picked some uppity churches with very wealthy people to go to.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even the small ones, there were like little people who had these big businesses who they knew were like supporting that church so they could leech off of them. Mm-hmm. They did. They leached.
I gotta tell you the story.
Yeah.
So one time, this was after I had moved out. And I had nightmares about them for probably about 10 years, that they were chasing me, trying to hurt me. Sometimes they were choking me, in the dreams and stuff. And I know that a lot of other people have also had nightmares about them regularly.
Yeah.
So one day, though, I saw Leslie in Kroger with, I think, her youngest daughter, and there was this very nice looking, wealthy looking older lady with her. So I just, I don't know what, but we both know probably what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
And so I walked, she was trying her best to ignore me and hoping that I didn't come up to her.
Oh my gosh.
And I went up to her and I was like, hi. And she gave me a fake hi. And I was like, I still have nightmares about you.
Ooh.
And that lady was like,
oh my
gosh. And I was like, ruined that little bit of money for you, huh?
That's awesome. And all the time I've even had people reach out to me and tell me that they really pushed the whole, well, they're just troubled teens. They are mad. They're hurt. Like, they have issues. They're addicted to drugs. Whatever it might be. Whatever the excuse is.
I was rewatching the video of their podcast.
Yeah, it's very interesting. If you haven't watched it, you need to go watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll link it or something.
You should. Like, talking about them claiming that they were, like, troubled kids.
Yes.
And that, something I noticed in that podcast, that when they were talking, was she was talking about when she came to House of Praise.
Mm-hmm.
And, they knew that coming to, predators know what prey they're seeking.
Oh my God, girl, yes.
Yes. And they came to this poor area, right? And they said it in the video. They asked all the kids in there, and they said it like,
yes.
Anyone who has a mommy or daddy in the same house.
Wait, I don't think they said it like that back then. They just scat on that kick later.
No.
Do you think they said it like that?
No.
Oh.
But in the podcast, I think they did.
Oh, for sure, on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is I think later, as things got creepy, they were like, well, we're mommy and a daddy or whatever.
we're not, the children you're talking to are not in elementary school. Why are you saying that?
It's creepy.
It doesn't, ugh.
It does not calculate.
No, does not compute.
But you're right. They said that. Like, they were almost like seeing who, like, how vulnerable are these kids?
Yes. Anyone who has an original mom or dad in the house, raise your hand. And they said only 2 kids raised their hands, and they were brother and sister. And I remember that. I'm pretty sure I was there for that. Yes. They're lying about how many kids were there. There wasn't 200 kids there. Yeah. And so only 2 kids raised their hands, right? Yeah. So they already knew, this place is ripe for the picking. Mm-hmm. None of these kids have, like, an ideal home situation, I would say, you know. And they're in a poor area, and they, you know, like I said, predators know their prey.
Right. It's really vulnerable.
Yeah, very vulnerable. They knew they had this vulnerable population that was like, and like you and Sierrah were talking about earlier, they were amazing manipulators. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it too. Like, they're predators. They knew what to do to get their prey. Yeah. You know, they made everyone feel special.
Yes, they definitely had the whole, I've talked about it in one of my videos, but there's an abuse cycle. And basically the cycle goes love bombing, or like a honeymoon phase. And then you have your tension build up. Like, things are going to start getting kind of weird or seem off. And then it's going to explode, and you're going to have the abuse. And then there's going to be making up for all of that and going back to things not being a problem. And then it slowly goes back to the tension phase. It's like a constant cycle.
I swear, I feel like that's something that Mark studied. You know what I mean? Like, I just have a feeling he is, like, and he always, like, you know, the sayings and stuff, like, you know, it's
hard to understand how they got so good at it.
Well, they had already been in multiple, and, you know, they said that they chose to leave that huge place in Georgia. I guarantee you they got fired.
So I wonder that too, because often it's a pattern, and we've seen the pattern.
We got kicked out of every church we were ever in when we were with them.
Every single one. We went in and we judged, and then they tried to take control, and then it was always like this us against them. They needed an enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about let's talk a little bit about your perspective on them kind of like taking your sister after you had finally escaped, if you're okay with that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I always felt bad for leaving my siblings because, you know, I hated that I did that. Mm-hmm. But when I left, I kind of went into like I kind of went from here to here, and I just started partying.
Right. Because you had never really done that.
No, like, you know, like, I met them when I was like 13. I maybe had tried alcohol a couple times, never even really gotten drunk, you know, never did anything like too mischievous.
Yeah.
And then I was in there, you know, and we weren't allowed to date. We weren't allowed to do, you know, you know, and
yeah, they really pushed all those rules on us.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to watch TV unless it was secretly with Mark after Leslie went to bed while we were rubbing lotion on his feet.
Yeah, I found out that a lot more people did that. Disturbingly, a lot more people did that.
I'll talk about that, you know, maybe later. But I wasn't allowed to listen to country music in my own truck by myself, because one time I forgot, and I was blaring it when I was driving up. Yeah. And they were like,
secular music.
The devil, you have a demon.
Yeah, you should be constant.
You should always
and worship.
Oh, that was such a God. Mindfuck. Yeah. Bro, like, we weren't even free in ourselves in our own free time.
Yes.
They had a
But it's true, like, even in our mind, because I felt like they knew everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I was laughing because I was like, they had us chained in our mind.
Yes.
Break the chains.
God. Break and never chain.
Oh, God. I forgot again.
Well, we were just talking about all the rules and regulations, because we're talking about how they, you know, trap people. And then once you got out, it was just 0 to 100.
Yeah, it was. I started partying, and then, you know, I ended up becoming an alcoholic because, you know, being introduced to alcohol at that point, that was a great fucking way for me to forget. because I abused it from the second I started. I would drink until I would black out or pass out or throw up or could not physically continue to drink anymore.
Yeah.
And I did that for about 10 years, pretty regularly. And, that I needed to do that to forget. Like, I just did not want to think about them. Like, and my sister was there, and, we honestly weren't in communications then at all, really. But I do think I remember multiple times the chances that I did get to talk to her, trying to warn her and telling her to get out.
Yeah.
I was like, get the fuck out. I'm telling you, you don't know. It's not what you think it is. Please get out. And I remember I saw Emily there, or I saw her outside of it when she was there a couple times, because I remember I was working at Sonic, and he used to bring them all there to get Sonic ice cream. Like, after a long day's work.
Yeah.
When it was like half off ice cream.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
and then I'm sure they were limited to what they could get.
Oh, yeah, very limited. Yeah. Basically, they all got the same thing. Yeah. But, but I remember getting Emily alone, and I was like, girl, get out. Leave.
Yeah.
But you know as well as I know that once you're in, like, you're not gonna, it doesn't matter what other people tell you until you figure it out for yourself.
Yeah. It must have been so hard for you, having what you were experiencing inside and trying to suppress, and then seeing or knowing that, like, they have your sister doing the same thing to her.
It was hard, but, that was just a time in my life where I was just disassociating from everything. Right. I was just trying to numb my pain with anything. I was a drug addict for a long time as well, along with that.
Yeah.
And, but I'm awesome now, by the way, so.
Good. It's hard. Well, and tell me, obviously whenever we become addicts or whenever we're trying to suppress things, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the complex trauma that you've had since leaving, and what you've been trying to run from, or what you did try to run from at that point.
Well, I'll say this. The first time that I ever went to a therapist, we had a session. I was telling her that every time I see a white van, I have an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And,
it's hard being in this town after, and knowing they were here. It was horrible for all of us.
Yes. And and she told me that's PTSD. And I was like, I was confused, because at that time I was so young, and they had us so sheltered from any knowledge. Yes. You know what I mean?
It was demonic.
Yeah, anything
the world
that was not from the Bible was demonic.
Right.
Like, y'all are demonic. But but at first I was, because I remember some of the boys that had done a tour in Iraq, and they came back with PTSD.
Right.
And so I thought that was just for soldiers and stuff. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, this is, and I was like, oh, well, that does make a lot of sense,
Yeah, right? I thought the same way. I was like, oh, this is a thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. And, like I was, mentioned before, I had nightmares about them, during that whole time of drinking alcohol, trying so hard to just escape them.
Yeah.
And I would still have nightmares,
Yeah.
And it hurt, because, some of the nightmares I'll be able to stand up for myself. I never got a chance to, but then some of them, I couldn't, I wanted to speak and I couldn't. Yeah. And it was just it was scary.
Yeah, I know. I've suffered with nightmares myself, and it's even the nightmares where I'm able to speak out, they still don't go away.
Yeah.
It's oh my God.
Even the one I told you about, they didn't go away.
Yes.
But
it's amazing. People don't always understand how serious psychological abuse is.
Yeah.
But it is really, really detrimental, especially to a kid.
Yeah, because if you get a child young enough, you can program them to be whatever you want them to be.
Yeah. And they want to please so bad.
Yeah, they do. Exactly. And they knew that.
Yes.
They knew, okay, these poor kids in this poor area who don't have a mother and father in the home, they are wanting love.
Right.
And they say that clearly.
A lot.
It's like so in your face, the inappropriateness and the plotting against children. But yeah, you can just, that's what, it's easy to program a child.
Yes, it is. Tell me a little bit more about some of the things that really disturbed you about being there.
Well,
aside from rubbing people's feet, were you there whenever the computer incident happened?
I was there.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. So, Mark had he had weaseled his way into the Main Street Mission by kissing the owners' asses, who I think the owners were, I want to believe they were good people.
Sometimes I question them too.
I don't know, but
they're older, so they're also vulnerable.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. So, but
he weaseled his
way in because they had
they weasel a lot, don't
they do.
Fucking weasels.
Dirty weaselers.
Dirty weaselers.
So because they had a nonprofit, whatever you call it,
like a certification,
yeah,
registration, I don't know.
Yeah, so they went there to learn how to get one, and they were showing them, like, giving them all this information about how to do it, because I remember them meeting with them and stuff. And because we would go there and be stuck there for hours with nothing to do. Oh my god, it was so ridiculous, bro. I remember we like snuck out and went and played on the train tracks and stuff because
we took pictures. Do you remember?
Yes,
we still have those pictures.
Yes,
but yeah, we were always in places for hours, whether they were talking at church or whatever. We'd be starving, we'd be hot, waiting in the van.
Oh my god, no water.
Yes, and the kids in the car seat, like waiting for an hour. Yeah.
So yeah, they ended up giving him an office there.
Yeah.
After we cleaned out the whole Main Street Mission and built whatever you want to call it, a stage, a waiting area, like in a room, and so then he had an office there and he had a computer in it that he would do his business stuff on. Well, then I guess he got a new computer for the office and he brought that computer home for us to do our homework on and stuff.
Oh.
And of course,
so this was after he had started to do them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was whenever he left that church, but that's
maybe it happened more than once. It would not surprise me.
What if it did?
It makes perfect sense.
Well, either way, it's
because weird. I know he had a computer at that church too.
And back then they had to download that stuff.
Yeah.
They still didn't know that.
It was saved on there.
Yeah, it was harder to get.
Yes. And when he brought it home, one of the guys there who's very mischievous, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, got on it and found all of this pornography.
There was a lot.
And he showed me, like, I saw that there was, like, I saw the pornography on the computer.
Yeah.
Somebody else had mentioned what type it was. I was so young and innocent. I didn't even know really what, and so I didn't know to look for what kind, or what I mean.
Didn't know.
I had no.
Yeah, we obviously shouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly. But is it okay to say the
daddy daughter?
Yeah.
I said it on my other video.
Yeah,
it's cringe. I hate
it. It is disgusting.
Yeah,
and he would make all of us like call him his dad, and he would call us all his daughters.
Yeah, they were onto that. They were the whole mother-father thing.
Yes,
was huge. Because they wanted us to like be their family, but then there was that time when they sat us all down and told us that we were their ministry and not their family. Were you there for that?
I bet I was.
So yeah, because I remember one time, it was after we had all kind of started eating in the dining room. I think the den might have still been there. I can't remember if they had. Actually, I think we had extended it possibly by then. I don't know. Anyway, they sat us down. Like, it was me and you and a couple others that were kind of more original, and they said, well, we've been doing some thinking and we realized like we've been neglecting our kids, and you guys are not our family, you're our ministry.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And then like they started having their kids sit at their table with them.
And then we were separate.
Yes. And that's after they had lured us in and told us all that we were like family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I didn't.
I'm so happy for your memory.
Yeah. Well, that's why we all can fill in different places. It's wild.
And like we all have, different traumatic things that stick out more than others.
Yeah. So that's one thing about his stuff, but what are some other things that disturbed you about what happened to you there? Besides the fact that obviously you fasted until you passed out once. Probably more than once.
Well, that one was wild because, like, you know, like I was saying, I was never skinny enough for them.
Yeah, they were so obsessed with that, and Leslie wasn't even a very skinny. Like, she wasn't a skinny person by any means. Like, well, I don't, but I truly don't say that in like a. I truly try not to say that in like a fat phobic way, like
No,
because I accept every body and everybody should be accepted, right?
Yes, it should be accepted.
But she was so fixated on it.
And I think it was because you know, I just realized something that I think she was projecting
Oh, for
because
sure.
he, you know, he wanted her to be like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And, you know,
It
after
was a
having
topic of
several
conversation several
children,
times.
yeah, and you know, that first of all is fucked up, by the way, Mark, because she has had 6 children for you,
Yeah.
and women's bodies change.
Yes.
But he was always obsessed with the blondes, of course, little blonde girls, but also little blonde girls. So, you know, they were always making comments about my weight, telling me that, oh, they made me go to a nutritionist and pay like hundreds of dollars of my money.
What?
To go see a nutritionist to try to help me lose more weight because that was the smallest I've ever been. I could not. People's bodies are made differently, and I could not physically get smaller than what I was.
Well, not to mention that it could have been possible that you would have had like a hormonal issue, and that would never be addressed because they would never take us to the doctor.
Yeah, but also looking back, I looked damn fucking good. I was thick as fuck, and I was pretty.
Yes.
There was nothing wrong with that.
Right. They were always trying to focus on weird things about us that they did not like. Like, they didn't even like me twisting my hair.
I remember.
You know, and it's like
putting it in a bun.
Well, I would do this, you know, because I like,
it's
like a stem. It's like a stem thing for me. Like, it's soft or whatever.
I do this.
It grounds me.
Yeah.
And they didn't even like that, but they would focus on, especially some of you other girls too. Like, it was all about our body or like things they didn't like about us or ways they wanted us to be, and so they really harped on it.
And like, you have to wear this brand of makeup.
That's true. The Alouette,
which was so expensive.
Dude, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Like, this is gonna make you look great, and then that woman would come over and sell it to us.
Yeah, that was Spencer's sister.
Well, there were 2 women.
Oh, really?
Beth.
Oh, yes.
She was horrible. She would snitch all the time. Too.
Oh my god.
A grown woman, by the way.
Disgusting.
So yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, they were always just, you know, tearing me down and just making me feel just bad about myself. And you know, like, at one point there was like this pastor that we went to go see in Missouri, and him and his sons had come over for dinner one time, and one of his sons thought that I was really pretty, and Mark told me about it, and it was like, oh my god, Shaina, guess what, his son thinks you're so pretty. Can you believe, acting like it was so unbelievable that a boy would think that I was pretty, basically. Oh, you know, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
You know?
This guy liked you, but Mark made it sound like it was unbelievable.
Yeah, like it was unbelievable that any boy would ever think I was cute.
Yeah.
And
jeez.
But yet they always put me out on center stage.
They did. They
oh my god.
They loved the passion.
Yeah.
But what's so weird about, like, with your case, you're so vibrant and outgoing now and fun, and you were like that some. Like, we always had fun and we laughed, but you were so much more reserved.
Yeah.
And broken down and like just almost like your head down. And Leslie used to even always harp on you for things like that.
Yeah.
But I also became like that. Just, you almost like shut down.
Yeah. I was like just shut down. I was just trying not to get bitched at every day.
I know.
You know? Like, I was trying not to get screamed at every day.
That's true. And we're always walking. They always said it too, but like, we were the ones walking on eggshells. Because they would tell us, we have to walk on eggshells around you. Or whatever. They told me that anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but that sounds like something they would say.
They'll say anything, right?
Yeah. So, you know, one thing that I have realized recently is, you know, how much they were grooming us, especially the girls. And I do think that the boys were being groomed as well. But, you know, like, one thing is that Mark always liked for us to wrestle. And sometimes he would make the girls wrestle.
Yeah, you and I wrestled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just kidding.
Actually, I think I won because I was like squeeze out from under you. I was like quick. I don't even remember us like doing it anywhere to the extreme that you and the other girl did.
Oh no. Well, yeah. Because, well, Yeah, her and I had a very love-hate relationship,
Right.
whereas I just loved you.
It was competitive.
Yeah.
And I wasn't very competitive, but it's weird to me that like we would wrestle, girl or boy, but especially girls, like because Mark definitely encouraged it.
Oh, I really think that he made us do it because,
Yeah.
I would wrestle the boys a lot just because I was a tomboy and, that was just, I've always been a fan of wrestling
Yeah.
and I love it, but I
Yeah.
never wanted to wrestle with the girls because sometimes
It's just
girls
too
get,
close to home.
and yeah, and you get mad at each other sometimes
Yeah.
and the boys would get mad when they wrestled each other, but then they wouldn't be mean to me. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So he just had this obsession with the girls wrestling each other, with girls wrestling boys, with boys wrestling boys.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
even got into a physical, you know, MMA fight, whatever you want to call it, with one of the boys there and fucking picked him up outside on the hard ground and threw him down like this on his back.
Oh my god.
I remember watching it because up to that point they had been like, it was kind of playful.
Yeah.
But then like Mark got really mad and he
Yeah.
took off his like he had like a sweater thing over his shirt or something and he took it off and like slammed him.
Oh my god.
It was very scary because like
Yeah.
Mark is a very big man.
Yeah, Mark has a weird streak of like
violence.
aggression.
Yes.
Yeah. And like proving himself.
Oh my god, so aggressive.
Yeah.
And but also, he would come up to a lot of us girls and come up behind us and choke us.
And so I know someone had mentioned they'd been tickled and stuff, but I remember him choking you guys out.
Yes.
Yeah.
He especially me because he took advantage of the fact that I was competitive and I loved wrestling. Yeah. And so he would be like tap out and I would never tap out and he would keep going until I passed out. Yes. Literally passed out. And one time my body was convulsing and like I could see everyone around me and they were just like ha ha laughing and I was just like sitting there convulsing and I think that happened to another girl too.
Wow.
And but he the convulsing part.
Yeah.
But he made a lot of girls pass out.
Well, it's really dangerous, obviously.
It is really dangerous.
It's like cutting off your oxygen to your brain. That's not good for you. It may be a kink. It's probably a kink because he did it with multiple.
And I do think that also, it's a show of dominance. He was physically dominating us. So as children, to get the idea in our head that would be used to it, and that is grooming.
Yeah, and then also of course the massages and stuff.
Yes, yeah. I think this is probably the last story I'll share for today. But so like I was saying before, how we weren't allowed to watch TV. Their children could watch like Hannah Montana and stuff, but we couldn't watch TV. We couldn't listen to any type of
couldn't read books either because someone got in trouble for that.
But a lot of nights he would ask me and some of the other girls, and I think if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like he picked and chose which girls he wanted there.
Yeah.
And he would sit in his recliner with his feet propped up like a king and be like, oh, y'all come watch this movie with me. And it would be something that was probably had some sort of sexual element to it that we definitely would not have been allowed to watch during the day ever. Mm-hmm. And force us to rub his feet with lotion.
He kind of convinced you to do it, or he just kind of said, hey, you guys should do this?
It was because I hated feet. I still hate feet. Don't put your fucking feet on me. I'll punch you. Mm-hmm. But so I feel like for me, it was more of like a coaxing of like basically the whole wash, be humble, respect your authority, wash my feet type thing. And kind of like the other girls were already doing it. So he was like, do it. And, a lot of times, like, he would be up very late with us after Leslie went to bed, and she would often come in several times and being jealous, made it known that she was jealous that he was spending that time with us in the dark.
Yeah.
And would, ask him to come to bed. And he would be like, okay, honey, I'll be there in a minute. And then whenever she left, he would be like, like, I'm going to stay here with you guys, like, making us feel special.
I do remember him doing stuff like that.
Yeah. And
like we were in on something.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like we were in on this special thing with him.
Yeah.
And, he would stay up with us as late as he could until she finally kept bitching at him. And then when he left, he would insinuate, basically, again, with this joke that we're in on, that, okay, well, now I'm going to go to bed and fuck my wife, basically.
Wow.
Like he didn't say those words, but that was
they were a
it was
little weird about
understood.
sexual
They
stuff.
talked about, they were openly talking about sex.
They definitely made it clear that to us that they were having sex.
And
more. Which we'll get into some of that with some people's stories.
But yet, you and I, if we got caught talking about just sex in general, which we're teenagers want to talk about sex and joke about sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's a natural thing.
So good. I don't even remember ever talking about it.
No,
except with Leslie.
Yes, that was it. Like the only time we were able to talk about sex was with them.
Yeah.
And it was weird. It was always weird, and she was always sharing too much information.
Yeah.
About.
I remember her telling us like women should smell good and you need to put on lotion, and I don't know.
Yeah. She always tells us, I don't believe in oral or anal. Only penis vagina is holy. That's the only thing that God allows in a marriage.
You know what? I remember something that they said once about the pastors of House of Praise and like criticizing them because I cannot remember the details, but wasn't there something about anal that came up about their relationship? Do you remember that?
That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Like, I remember them saying, I don't know if the pastor like said, but it wasn't necessarily bad on stage. I don't know what, but I remember Mark and Leslie talking about it. So they have a weird thing about talking about that.
And one of my friends I was talking to about this, who she was not in the cult. She's just a friend of mine. So she has like an outsider's perspective, and she was, thinking like maybe they were saying all these things about, maybe they were saying that she wasn't, to be blunt, sucking his dick, so that it would put the idea in us eventually, like, if you do this,
right, they're normalizing it.
Yeah,
they're making it
like it'll be special, like
slowly but surely.
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything ever happened, but there was definite grooming, and there was definite crossing of many lines, physically and mentally and otherwise,
Right, and those are things that you just shouldn't be doing whenever you're running a youth outreach and being around young women.
No,
not at all. Well, at some point, I know that we'll probably get together again and talk more about your story, and maybe one day we can get into like how you left or how you got healing. But
yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And
I know. I'm so happy to see you again.
Good. Well, take care. And what is your YouTube that you're going to be doing?
It's Pink Panther's Princess.
Okay, Pink Panther Princess.
Because I'm ready to roar.
And Shaina has a lot of really cool stuff about like mysticism and spiritualism, and just, I don't know, all kinds of cool odds and ends that I think would be interesting for you guys to check out too.
Thank you. Bits and bobs for doing your wizardry.
Bits and bobs.
Because they had a
weasel a lot, don't they?
They do.
Fucking weasels.
Dirty weaselers.
Dirty weaselers.